Welcome to another show. This is Naked Dad. Here, taking Angie for another walk around Fremantle. What a beautiful day. Oh, there's bobtail lizards everywhere. Angie saw one. All the snakes are out and the lizards are out. Okay, so we're going to make Indonesian Rendang today. It's basically a dried curry rather than a saucy one. It goes really well with rice and some achar, which is like pickles. Okay, so we're going to get a container, whether it's glass or plastic, and we're going to put our onion, garlic, ginger, candle nuts, chilies in there, and we're going to blitz it into a paste. So then we're going to add a teaspoon of turmeric and about a teaspoon and a half, maybe two there of cumin, and one big heap of coriander all ground. Now I also put some salt in there and about 30-40 mils of oil. Now we're going to make a grisik by toasting the coconuts. So gonna have to keep our eye on this because it's very, very hot and it'll just get black really quickly. So watch it that it becomes nice and toasty but not black. Then we're gonna add all our paste in there and we're gonna saute that really well until most of that liquid goes and the aromats are all out. Going to dice up our chuck steak or our gravy beef, and we're going to add that into the pot. I haven't seasoned it, as you notice, and I have actually put a lot of the seasoning into the paste. So now I'm going to mix the whole thing up so it's like one big seasoning and fry that off a little bit just to seal it off. You can put the lid on it at this stage as well just to keep that heat really hot, but just got to take it off and on and off and stir it. Okay, so once you seal off the beef, add 6 or 5 slices of galangal in there, some fresh galangal. It's beautiful. And we keep stirring that as well. Now, why we seal the meat is really just to keep its form. Otherwise, if you don't seal it and you just leave it in there, it's just going to start rendering down and it'll break up into little pieces. So we are going to seal it just to get that nice chunky beef onto our plate. You can also add lemongrass to this at this stage, and then you want to add your liquid, which is either coconut cream or coconut milk, depending how tender or tough your steak is. If your steak is tender, then you want to use coconut cream, and it'll only take you about an hour and a half. If your steak is tough, then you want to use coconut milk and let it cook for around about 2.5 to 3 hours. Okay. Now you can also cook that in the oven at about 150 degrees and let that stew in there until it splits. What you want to do is actually split the sauce. So splitting meaning it breaks into 2 parts, and the oils, once you start seeing oils, then you know that that's split. So from that point, you need to crank up your stove and fry it. That's how you get that browning, okay? Now you do this while you're camping. You can stick it on a coal and a Dutch oven and cook that for about 3 hours, and then it splits, then you start frying it off. So this is what it looks like when it comes to that stage. This one was done at home with coconut cream. Now this is what it looks like with coconut milk in 3.5 hours. Really brown, really soft, really tender, really spiced up. So we took Rhett and his son Mateo for a little wheel around the place for 3 hours, And it was fantastic taking the boys out, shaking them all about in the four-wheel drive. They loved it.
Gonna be okay. Gonna be.
So this is the one that we did with coconut cream, and it was done on the stove at very low heat. We took about an hour with about half an hour of actually frying it in its oils, and this is it. So whichever way you choose, it's all gonna be good, whether it's coconut cream or coconut milk. An hour and a half on the stove, or 3 hours on the stove, or 3 hours in the oven. All good. Just give it a shot, and don't be distressed if it splits, because that's what you want it to do. Just crank up the heat and fry it, and you'll see what I mean. That was Duke on the BMX track, and this is me from Bali, and have a good evening, guys. Thanks for watching.